So this is going to be a quick tutorial on how I got around using Active Directory enrollment policies or using the domain controller on the tutorial made by NLB Solutions on how to install and configure a VPN in Windows Server 2016. So a lot of people are getting stuck at certificates, so did I. Did a bit of research, got around it. By no means should you use this tutorial for work purposes or studying purposes. Even home labs if you're trying to learn how the whole ecosystem with Windows servers works, as this is a very ghetto and workaround way of doing this. So first of all, we want to make our own certificate. There's a good website here from InfiniteLoop.io, which I believe is another VPN service, or maybe even just a tutorial website. I'm going to link it below anyway, which it's pretty much 3 easy steps. You only need these 3 steps to create a trusted root certificate and a server certificate signed by the root. So to do this, just pretty much jump onto your server. As you can see, I do not have the configuration that the tutorial says to use. So jump onto PowerShell here, and you want to just copy and paste in those commands. I'm going to start with the parameters. So here I've changed my DNS name of the root parameters to just VPN root cert, and I'm going to create that certificate like so. Once you created the root certificate using new self-signed certificate command, if you refresh your certificates here, you'll see that pop up. But you'll also see that it's not trusted, and it's just the root so far. So let's make the server signed by the root. So we're going to put in the new parameters here, which you want to make sure you insert your actual host name you're going to be using, which mine is my home host name, and also the signer will be the root that we just created up here. So pretty much set those parameters and then create the self-signed certificate. Alright, so once you've done that, you'll see that you're issued by VPN root cert, and you should have it on the child of the root cert, like so. But this cert is still not trusted. So to do that, what we can do is we can just use the last 2 commands in that tutorial in part 3 to export the certificate and re-import the certificate. And here, if we jump into the trusted certificates now and refresh it, we should see that VPN root cert is there and is now trusted. And if we jump into the server cert, we can see that it is the root, it is linked to the root, and it is also trusted. Now you can continue following the tutorial by using the server cert, not the root cert. So wherever the tutorial says to use this certificate, remember to use the server cert, which is the one with your host name on it. The next part of the tutorial, which caught me off guard, was where you need an Active Directory server to create the users. A quick get around for this is if you jump into your server manager, go into computer management, local users and groups, jump on users, you can create a new user here, pretty straightforward, and you can create a new group here, and you can add members as you will. As you can see here, create a name, create. I've done this already with my remote access users, and I've added the member Anthony. That's pretty much all you have to do. Create that group, and then you have to modify the policies to accept that group instead of accepting something from a Active Directory server. So to do that, jump onto your routing and remote access server and launch NPS. If you followed the tutorial, you would know that you would have to create a new policy. Let's just name mine test, as I'm not going to be saving this. The condition here, instead of doing what the tutorial says, I think using Windows groups, you can use user groups here. And you can just type in the users group. So, which I made a remote access users, check names, see if it's there, and voila, you can now use that group and it will bypass all the users dial-in properties if you just access granted there. Remember to add the authentication method here and you should be good to go. Next, finish, and you should get something like this. Alright, so if you've been following the tutorial so far, you probably notice when you actually try use the VPN now that you have some sort of cert problem in your actual computer. So I've actually moved over to my computer now. Let's go VPN. That's not a VPN, Bing. VPN. And we'll add a VPN connection here using the Windows built-in. We can actually change this to SSTP and enter a username and a password from our user. Once you've saved this, jump into adapter options, right click on your VPN, click properties, go to security, and make sure you use the authentication that we selected in the policies. After that's done, click connect, and as you can see, a certificate chain process but terminated by a root certificate which is not trusted by the trust provider. So this means you don't have the root certificate in your computer, which you need to transfer, which I think the tutorial mentioned but never actually did. So we're going to do that now. So if you jump back onto your server, you'll notice in your PowerShell, or if you've closed it already, you'll notice in my PowerShell that there is a file path where we exported this root certificate to. This is changed on mine as I modified it, but it should be in your C drive /cert/ whatever your certificate name is called. For simplicity purposes, I'm just going to go with my current root certificate that I've created a while ago. So pretty much I've put on my certificate. So this is what you use, but I'll be using this certificate here as this is my main certificate that I've used currently for this server, not for the tutorial. So I've actually moved this onto my SMB server. Here, so I can access it on my main computer. If we switch back, here it is here, and what we can do, we can actually double click on that and install the certificate. You want to make sure it's on your local machine and that it's placed in the trusted authorities group. Once you finish that, you should be able to connect again, and you've been connected. Quick test on this is just loading up a command prompt and checking if you are in the DNS range, DHCP range, or whatever you've set up. ipconfig, which mine is 10, which my regular IP is 1, but it's gone to 10 now, which means I'm successfully on my home VPN. So I hope that helped, guys. If you have any questions, just pop me an email or write in the comments below. Thanks.